Mr. Gerard, will you kindly explain to this committee why you keep in your refrigerator bottles full of animal blood?
I choose not to answer that question under the protection of the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Monster!
Welcome back, friends.
Welcome back. It's time for another episode of the Strange and Beautiful Book Club. It's a Forever Night episode. Season 1, Episode 14, Spin Doctor. Which, as I noted on the previous Forever Night episode, is the second lowest rated episode after Dead Air. I don't think that's fair.
I don't think it's fair. This episode was pretty solid.
I remember this episode as being weird, but I think it's just because I was like 12 and it's all about politics and I did not give a shit. Yeah. That would be my guess. Because it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all.
All of the political zealousness is totally realistic.
It is. I don't believe Natalie's necessarily. Maybe as in a reaction to Schanke's.
Yeah, as just like feeding off of it.
Yeah. But it wasn't bad. I mean, we've watched some episodes that we were like, oh God, what did we just watch? This wasn't one of them. I didn't feel like this was one of them.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll just get into it. So, hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matt.
Welcome to the Strange and Beautiful Book Club. So we open, and there's an election coming. And for some reason, it's like the Thunderdome. 2 candidates enter, 1 candidate leaves.
They're all both campaigns are camped out in the same hotel. Different wings of the same hotel, which is ridiculous.
So either there's not that many hotels in Toronto, or whoever is in charge of booking people for this hotel is fucking amazing at their job. Because they were like, I know exactly how to fill every room in this hotel for like a week.
I've been to Toronto. It's a really big city. There's lots of hotels there.
Yeah. Oh, I know there's a lot of hotels there. I'm just saying.
So it's very unrealistic.
Who convinced both candidates?
I was even in Toronto in the 90s.
Oh, you were. Oh my God. While this was on? That's like my dream.
Yeah, it would have been like 93.
We went to Fort Niagara one time and we could see Toronto across the water. And I was just like, look, it's
so close.
It's the skyline from Forever Night.
Old Fort Niagara.
Yeah.
In upstate New York.
Yeah.
Is a like state park / historical site.
Yeah.
For any listeners that don't know about it. Across the water.
So we open on election night. So for whatever reason, it's like the election Hunger Games in this hotel. It doesn't matter.
The hotel is full of journalists.
Right, because we immediately segue into a who's who of terrible things from the 90s. Because this guy is in a bath, which is like salmon colored porcelain.
Oh yeah, it's like a 70s era renovated bathroom.
No, this was the 90s. You got salmon colored the shell sink with the shell shape on the sink. I mean, this is all this is high 90s. This is luxury. If you had colored bathroom fixtures in the 90s, you had fucking made it. That's why Nick's bathroom fixtures are black. And this hotel's fixtures are all
Isn't Nick's
salmon
toilet
color.
black?
Everything in Nick's bathroom is black.
Okay.
Yeah. We just found that out last episode because he ran in there while he was screaming, running in terror from a small child. I'm blind. But we pan along the wall, and
there's a bra hanging off the towel holder.
Right, and this guy is in the tub, the salmon-colored tub,
smoking a cigarette, watching a portable television propped on the edge of the tub.
But it's like you're thinking small portable television, but portable televisions in the 90s were the same length as a regular CRT TV. They just had a small screen.
Okay, hold on.
So
let's think. Is there a comparable device?
Yeah, your phone. You'd just be sitting.
No. A size device. A comparable size device that modern, like Gen Z listeners would be familiar with.
Honey, nobody under the age of 35 is listening to this.
Hold on. Our niece has admitted she listens to this podcast.
She listens to it to fall asleep.
Okay. But this is the beginning. She'd still be awake right now.
Okay.
Hi. Anyway, I'm trying to give an understandable reference
There
object.
is not much stuff that people interact. A computer tower. A straight up computer tower. Not built into the monitor. Just a regular
desktop computer tower.
Desktop computer tower is a similar length, a little taller. You can see it in the show, but they were quite large and quite heavy, like very heavy.
Yeah, because they had a metal frame and a lot of metallic parts inside.
Yeah, so he's doing everything that can get you killed in the 90s. He's bathing next to an electronic device. He's smoking. And someone just hurries everything along by walking in and chucking the TV into the bathroom.
Which I'm wondering what this person's backup plan was. Like they snuck into the room. What if the TV wasn't there? What was the plan to kill him?
Well, we find out later they have a gun. So
yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, I definitely could have used a gun.
I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter because they toss it in there, and then the remote floats artfully across the top of his face.
Which I'm impressed that this portable TV had a remote. That's like top of the line.
It may have even
portable
had,
TV in 1992.
It may have even had more than 12 channels.
13?
Whoa.
Hold
That's
the big phone. Money for that extra channel.
Oh my God. But we find out pretty quickly because after we go to the bottom, we come back.
Brought across in 12, blah, blah, blah.
1228. Listen, you're going to be watching with this with me. You got to get the facts straight.
Brought across in 12, blah, blah, blah.
I can't even with you right now.
Skip intro button.
Oh, you wound me, sir. You wound me.
Hey, Rachel fast forwarded through the intro this time.
Do you know how many times I have watched the intro to Forever Night? You might as well count the stars in the sky. But we find out pretty quickly that this is Gilbert Reeves, and he's a journalist of no note. He's not with any particular...
No professional affiliation.
Yeah, no professional affiliation.
Full freelance.
Which Schanke says at least he died honorably.
No, he died clean.
He died clean because he wasn't associated with any particular journalistic endeavor. But they're investigating the room, and Nick just reaches into his luggage and pulls out this medallion, which he is wearing a glove?
No, he's not wearing a glove.
Okay.
I thought this was
picks it up with a pen.
A respectable effort at maintaining forensic cleanliness. He uses a pen to scoop up the chain, and then when he wants to show Schanke, he drapes it across his jacket sleeve. Okay, great.
He learned that one time when he was a jeweler for a while.
But then he pulls a handkerchief out of his pocket and sticks it in his wad of boogers.
No, okay. He does not. No, he doesn't have mucus. He's a
Hold on.
He can't
Are we delving into vampire mythology again?
He can't get a cold. He can't get sick, so he can't have excess mucus. So he's probably just got this handkerchief to hand to damsels in distress.
He really does gravitate towards the damsels in distress.
Right. So I can totally believe that Nick just has a stock of cloth kerchiefs in his pocket to be like, oh, here you go. He just pulls it out and hands it. It's probably embroidered too. And he's
NK.
and he just says, you can keep it. It's like a relic from when we used to give away tokens of affection. He's just like, here you go. You keep that. No, don't give it back. Just think of me every time you blow your nose on it. And hand-a-dandily, they double as evidence bags. Yep. So he sticks it in a kerchief and sticks it in his pocket. And they are for sure that this TV was an accident.
Right. You and I both remarked on this.
Yeah.
They immediately jump to, oh, this was definitely a murder.
Yeah.
Because someone had to have thrown this TV in the tub.
Yeah. What did it do? Levitate and fall in by itself?
It couldn't have he couldn't have been like getting into the tub and setting the TV down on the edge and slipped a little bit and bloop, dropped the TV in the tub.
It's legit just resting on a towel. He could have hit the towel with his leg when he was standing up, tipped it just past its...
He could have even just been like
center of gravity,
stretching out his legs.
He could have just tipped it past its center of gravity and it just gone boop right in the tub.
Okay, so I'm thinking like, yeah, you stretch out your legs because no tub is long enough for you to stretch out your legs unless if you're an adult male of average height or
6
taller.
foot, yeah.
But
fine, thank you.
When the TV falls into the water, he has his legs stretched out, and there's room between his feet and the end of the tub.
That's because he was sitting up to smoke.
Probably.
He also saw whoever was coming in, and he sits up slightly. So he could have been in the process of rising from the tub when they chucked the TV in. Oh, no, he was dozing. He's dozing in the tub. That was the third thing I thought. Oh, good, that could get you killed. He's smoking, he's sleeping in the tub, and he's got a large electronic appliance sitting right next to it.
And so this only happens, the electrocuted in the tub only happens if you don't have proper circuit breakers installed.
Okay, thank you for that. Wow. You should have gone back in time to the 90s and been like, guys, this isn't great. We can't use this as a trope.
That would have immediately tripped a 20 amp circuit breaker.
My whole childhood is a lie. I feel like every single series had somebody dying from something falling.
That's part of growing up, is learning about all of the pieces of your childhood that are just straight up lies from your parents or the media.
Oh, wow, that was fucking bleak. I can't just look. Where do we go from here?
We go on to the next plot beat.
When does the path become clear? Okay, that was the Buffy musical for anybody taking any kind of notes. All right, so we go into our immediate flashback here. Which our flashback...
The flashbacks are aggressive.
They're aggressive, and they're in black and white, so they are jarring.
Intense
And jarring every time we jump to them. And the filming is very intense. It's very close up on Nick's face.
A lot of tilted angles.
Yeah. And we're supposed to get like distress, aggression, anger, fear. We get all of it. It's great.
Right. Disorientation.
And this is our first hint at what our flashback is going to be about. And it's that Nick got caught up in the communist...
Red Scare.
The McCarthy trials.
McCarthyism.
Yeah. And then we're immediately back. We're also very quick flashback, quick in, quick out for the majority of the time. We, like last week, we got some kind of ponderous flashback where we got an actual separate storyline for the flashbacks. We're not really getting that this time. We're just getting a immediate, instantaneous experience that he had that relates to what's going on. And we get a few moments where we see one of the candidates and they're being asked about some of their planks, whatever the stuff that makes up their
Planks?
Yeah, your platform is made up of planks. Did you know that?
I've never heard that phrase.
Yeah, your planks. The individual issues that make up your platform are referred to as planks.
Today's a learning day.
And today is a learning day. Thank you for rattling your glass in the microphone.
It's ASMR.
So he's asked about homelessness, but what's he going to do about homelessness in Toronto, which is a big issue for us because we've interacted with the people experiencing homelessness a lot
in this series.
So I'm interested to hear what he's going to do as well. And he just says, are they homeless by choice?
I simply won't tolerate it. As a family man, I'm very concerned about the future of my children in this city.
Where do you stand on the homeless issue?
My answer is a question. Are these people homeless by choice? Look, these sensitive issues are better discussed in a more appropriate venue.
Mr. Hyatt.
You dodged that one well.
He's a master at it. Have you noticed how his head looks a lot bigger in person?
He's got my vote. We need somebody tough in office.
Oh, come on. He's as phony as his hair weaves, Skank.
That's a weave?
I'm going to answer your question
with
a question. Are these people homeless by choice?
Spoiler alert, guys. Probably not.
Probably not.
Which we cut back to Nick and Natalie and Schanke. And Skanky's like, oh, that was a great dodge. He did such a good job. That was not a great dodge. If a candidate answered with that question, they'd be on every social media getting slammed with, what the fuck do you mean are people homeless by choice?
That's a horrible phrasing.
That's horrible. And Natalie's like, yeah, right. Well, his statements...
Unless you immediately follow it up with, okay, here we go.
Okay.
This one,
all right.
Here's a situation where that question could go across well. Are these people homeless by choice? Fucking no. No one would be homeless by choice.
I'm not saying no one.
Okay.
Only Sith deal in absolutes.
There's like 10 people who are homeless by choice in the world.
Okay. So this is a complex issue that we're not going to solve on this podcast. But there is no reason to assume that anyone is homeless by choice. That does not mean that there is no one who is homeless by choice.
Right. There are people who choose that lifestyle.
Correct. And there are people who are we personally, in our past, have been by definition homeless.
Yep.
It was not by choice. And
luckily, it was all circumstance.
Yeah, and luckily we exist in a space that has a lot of
dynamic.
That has a lot of support. And we were able to move through that period of our lives and move past it. But not everyone exists in that space. Right. And many people find themselves in the place that we found ourselves in, and they don't have a hand out.
Right.
They don't have a hand up.
They have no safety net.
Right. So, anyway, moving on. This was the fact that...
I didn't mean to be controversial.
That's okay. The fact that they immediately come out, that Nick and Natalie both immediately are like, okay, Skanky's like, well, that was a good dodge. And Natalie immediately results to ad hominem. She attacks the person. Hyatt instead of breaking apart his argument. She says, well, he's as false as his hair weave. Yeah. And Skanky's like,
straw man.
Yeah. And Skanky's like, his hair's real. That's just real hair. And boop. But this is supposed to illustrate that Schanke and Natalie are on opposite sides of this. She is supporting the woman, and he is supporting the man.
They do a good job of setting up Schanke and Natalie as adversaries. They're very combative about the political orientation.
That their usual banter has evolved to a point where they are actually on opposite sides of this conflict. Political conflict.
In the Western, like modern Western culture, to even be able to banter like this with somebody about politics is a signal of intimacy.
Yes.
Like, even to be able to make offhand comments to somebody of the, like, opposite political orientation without having to worry about being, like, completely ejected from their life.
Yeah.
Is, like, I feel comfortable enough with you to like, reveal
to have a dialogue with
my
you.
stream of consciousness about this political event.
Right.
And
which Schanke immediately torpedoes by going, broad for mayor?
Broad for mayor?
Wow, Schanke. Wow. We've gone, 2-3 episodes without any tangible, casual sexism.
Norton is the best thing that could ever happen to this city.
Oh, and better looking too.
Broad for mayor? Yeah, right.
Excuse me, a woman for mayor? Thank you. And what is wrong with
So he just had to throw it in all at once.
Yeah.
He just had to drop this bomb.
Yeah. He goes hard. There's probably like 3 lines in this episode where it's like, come on, Schanke.
Right.
Come on.
But we are distracted from this by they found Mona Wayne, which Mona Wayne is the woman who had checked in with our murder victim. And they found her and they bring her over. And Nick and Schanke are extremely uncomfortable to tell her that her fiance/boyfriend has passed away.
They do a horrible job communicating.
Yeah, they are beating around the bush so hard they miss the bush. I mean, they're just... Yeah, they're like, so you know the guy that you checked in with? And she's like, yeah. They're like, well, he was taking a bath by himself.
The TV ended up in the bath.
And they're like, well, he was watching TV, and the TV kind of fell in the bathtub with him.
Well, is he okay?
And they're like, no.
They don't even say no. They just look at each other significantly.
Yeah.
And then we look back at Mona.
And then we cut to the interrogation
like, what
room.
the fuck, guys? Just say, hey, Mona.
Yeah.
There was an accident. Gilbert Reeves is dead.
Shit got real, Mona.
And we wanted to make sure you knew as early as possible.
Right. Yeah. So they take her to the interrogation room, and at first I thought they were showing her a picture
of the necklace.
Of the necklace, which says, by the way,
right, because she's running her finger along the edge of the pendant on this necklace.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, they showed her a picture of it, and it's still on Nick's handkerchief. Huh, isn't that interesting? Oh, no, they just straight up handed her the pendant and let her touch it.
That has not been processed by forensics.
Yes.
It has not gone through proper chain of custody.
Nope.
Which
this pendant, by the way, says, make luck and steer fate. But she doesn't know anything. In fact, we go over the top to establish how simple and
all of this confuses me so much.
Yeah, politics.
Gilbert was the one who was passionate about it.
Yeah, she's the I don't know, the Mary Sue archetype. I don't want to say she's dumb. That's unfair. Naive. Unworldly, very sweet, but simple and sad, and doesn't know anything except that they had come to this hotel to close some kind of big deal for a lot of money. And she's never seen this medallion before, which I just want to point out now. We figure out where the medallion came from. I mean, we figure out who originally owned the medallion, but we don't ever figure out how he has it on a necklace in his suitcase. Just gonna let that lie there.
Okay, so real quick, opening scene.
Yeah.
There's a bra hanging on the towel rack.
Yep.
Okay. The person who ended up with the medallion wears bras.
Yes.
And I thought, oh, maybe she seduced him and she was in the hotel room, and that's how she was in there to drop the TV in the tub.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
But given the angles in the last scene with her, the bra that was hanging off the towel rack was way too small.
Trust Matt to be like, that can't be her. Her boobs are way too big. Too big. I can't.
She was extremely busty, and that was a small bra.
She's also... Oh, well, I'll get to that one later.
But Mona, that bra looked like it might have fit Mona.
Oh, good. You know what? I am going to defer to your expertise in the boob department. I mean, I'm not afraid of a good pair of boobs, but I just don't study them.
I just want to rule that out.
As you do.
The bra in the bathroom scene, I think was not a signal that what's her name, Laura was. I don't think that wasn't Laura's bra.
That's fair.
So, which doesn't rule out her seducing him to get into the bedroom with him.
Can you imagine how that scene went? She seduced him. They did what they needed to do, and then he was like, "Babe, I'm gonna go take a bath and smoke and watch my stories." She was like, "Oh, okay, I'll be in a little bit to kill you." But Mona gets up and leaves because they're going to get her another room in the hotel, and she doesn't really have anything to say. And Nick does say, let's make sure that security's watching her because, we don't want anything to happen to her.
You think she's a suspect?
Right. And Stone Tree says, yeah, absolutely. She could be a suspect, Schanke, because she was in the room.
She had access to the room.
She had access to everything. There's literally no reason to believe that she might not be a suspect. Don't fall for
she might be playing dumb.
Sweet Mary Sue act. Spoiler alert. She's not the bad guy. But Stone Tree gives them a brief lecture on we need to keep this quiet. It's really close to the election. Anything that's happening around this investigation could affect the election. And so if anybody shoves a camera in your face, you just say no comment.
None of this has anything to do with the campaign.
Oh, come on, Captain. I mean, Reeves was covering the election. It's going to be tough to keep a lid on it.
It's called spin control, detective. Somebody pokes a microphone in your face and they will. You offer no comment.
And
what he should have also said is, you all need to recuse yourself of any activities which might imply any bias in the positions of the individuals working for the police department on this case.
Well, good thing he didn't, because I don't know that anybody would have listened to him anyway. But we cut to the coroner's office, and Natalie is looking through a magnifying glass. And we just see her eye, and she's like, I can't get it. Schanke, you try. And so Schanke hops over, and he takes whatever tool she's using. And we don't know what they're working on. And Matt was genuinely outraged for like the 3 minutes that we don't know what they're working on. He's like, what? Like, what? Hang on. No. No.
Schanke should not be filling in for Natalie.
Nobody gives Schanke permission to do autopsies on these dead bodies. No. Well, it turns out
they're fixing in a TV antenna.
Well, they're trying to get something out. Something's lodged in the TV, and they need to get it out.
Oh, that's right. Okay, the fingernail.
Yeah. It turns out to be a bloody fingernail. So whoever picked the TV up ripped their fingernail off in the process.
The tool, by the way, looked like a spatula, like a medical spatula.
And they are arguing the whole time. Schanke in favor of Hyatt, Natalie in favor of Norton, who is the female candidate. And Nick is just like, oh my God. This is not the time.
What the fuck, guys?
This is not the actual
Keep
place.
your head in the game.
What the actual fuck? Can you please shut up about the election and, I don't know, investigate the case?
And almost immediately, doesn't Nick go right into a flashback?
Yes, yeah.
I thought it was funny that Nick was like, guys, keep your head in the game. Stay focused on what's happening right now. And then, hold on. I need to go look into the past.
What's that memory up in the upper right-hand corner? Oh, yes. Let me take a moment to look at you. Well, we just get these like, bam, flashback in, flashback out.
It's almost like he makes
episode.
eye contact with the camera.
Yeah.
And then we cut over to the flashback.
They do an extremely good job.
Like it's coming at him really fast.
They do an extremely good job of conveying in this episode that this memory is particularly painful for Nick and that he doesn't like being reminded of whatever it is that he's being reminded of. Because we don't really explicitly spell anything out. We don't see the conclusion of his trial. We don't see why he ended up there in the first place. We're just witnessing his discomfort in this trial. And we get the sense that this was an extremely painful thing for Nick. And we convey that with these quick in and out flashbacks. The fact that it's in black and white. The fact that he doesn't linger on the memory. That he's always like, it comes to him unbidden almost. And then he just pushes it away as fast as he can. But we get these.
When he returns from the flashback, he doesn't have like a recovery period like usual.
No, he's just like, oh God, like stop. I don't even want to think about this.
Like this is an intrusive thought that he has regularly.
Exactly. Yes. Like this is some kind of recurrent obtrusive thought that is happening because of the situation that he's in and not because he voluntarily wants to remember this. And they do a really good job of conveying that throughout the episode.
Yeah, like sometimes the flashbacks, it's almost like, okay, like I'm having trouble putting into place the current situation. There's a thing that happened a long time ago that might be relevant, that might give me some wisdom about how to approach this. Let me like recall that memory and like go relive it for a moment and see if I can extract the necessary wisdom from this previous event.
Almost like an autistic person would do, where you're like, I don't know how to react socially in this situation. So I'm going to recall
I need a reference point.
I need a reference point. I'm going to recall a time that I successfully did this or unsuccessfully. And I'm either going to do the same thing again if it was successful, or I'm going to try something different if it was unsuccessful last time.
Right.
Because
whereas these are more like trauma.
Yeah. Yeah, this definitely feels like trauma. That's a good way to describe it. For sure. And so Nick is like, listen, you guys, fucking focus, okay? Focus. I'm doing the hand gesture from 12 Monkeys. Where he's like, focus. And then he goes off.
Should we do 12 Monkeys?
Oh, God, of course we're going to do 12 Monkeys.
All right.
Okay, anyway.
Put it on the list.
So he goes off to the National Intruder.
Which is definitely not the National Enquirer.
Oh, no.
Absolutely not.
Oh, absolutely, it's not. It's the National Intruder. So he goes to the
They even have like a vinyl screen on the window in the office that they go into. It's like they put a lot of prep into this.
Yeah, the National Intruder. Well, they didn't have to put as much into the flashback this time, so it's fair.
Yeah, the flashback was all one set.
Yeah, but this is who Gilbert was talking to. This is who he'd been calling.
This is one of the people that Gilbert Reeves called.
Right. So Nick shows up at the newspaper office and he's like, so, what were you talking to Gilbert about? And this guy was like, well, I was hoping to buy a story from him, but if he's dead, I guess I'm not going to be able to buy the story from him. Whatever. Some kind of
about one of the candidates.
The funniest part about this scene is there's an article posted on the back of the wall that says, like, rock star comes back to life. Claims he's a 500-year-old vampire.
Or wasn't it famous rock star is a 400-year-old vampire?
Yeah, but it's something about them. It's Elvis, because when we pan out, it's
Elvis.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I didn't get the Elvis reference.
Yeah, well, I'm going to see if I can find a picture of that. I'll put it on the Instagram. The Instagram. Not just Instagram. It's the Instagram.
The Instagram. It's like the diabetes.
So we get another flashback while he's in the newspaper office. And they're really just like bombarding him, which is why it feels like intrusive thoughts. And the guy's like, if I were you, I'd check out the girlfriend because whoever he was sleeping with knows all the dirt. And you better keep an eye on her because you got to go to the source. You've got to go to the source. And so Nick's like, okay. So he goes up to the roof and just whoosh, takes off from the roof.
I gotta say, they're getting much better at the flying scenes. They're making them shorter. They're scaling the quality by shortening the length and proportionally improving the production quality.
Yes.
So this was just him jumping and whoosh for 3 seconds at most.
At most.
And it works. It works. For a 90s flying scene, it works.
Yeah, I buy it.
And doesn't Nick call Schanke before he leaves? And he's like, keep an eye on her. She might be in danger. I'll be right there.
Yeah.
And so while we were watching the episode, I was like, okay, Schanke, 1, 2,
but Skanky's
3.
He's in the headquarters right now because he goes off and signs up to be in the call center for Hyatt.
He volunteers to cold call people for the campaign.
The first person he calls is Myra. And he's like,
he calls Myra.
He's like, Myra, am I registered to vote?
Which is totally something I would call Rachel about. Rachel, am I registered to vote?
Like, did I register to vote? Spoiler alert, Matt didn't before the last election, which tend to register ahead of time.
I was registered. I was registered at the old address.
Ah, yes.
I didn't update it for this address.
Right. But he gets there, but unfortunately, she's eaten a cyanide-laced
I called it. I called it.
You did.
She sat down on the bed.
Did.
And she extremely conspicuously unwraps this chocolate and eats it. And I was 80% sure, but I said it with 100% confidence.
As you do.
That's the way I live my life.
It is 100%.
And I was like,
the way you live your life.
Too bad somebody poisoned the chocolate. And Rachel's like, what do you mean? It's like, shoot, it was way too deliberate how much they focused on her eating that chocolate.
Yeah.
Something is important about that chocolate. Somebody's trying to kill her. She's dead.
Just
as Nick arrives on the balcony.
You know what? The balcony is a handy way. Listen, you want a vampire-proof place?
They didn't reuse the footage of him flying up the outside of the building.
Nope, they didn't reuse any footage for that scene.
For that scene.
And we cut to Natalie in the coroner's office, and Nick says,
I guess it's not the first time someone's died in my arms.
You did all you could.
Which...
wow, the implications of that one. Wow.
Okay. At this point, it's probably useful to make a distinction about died in my arms versus died by my hand. Right? It's a subtle difference in phrasing.
Yes.
With huge implications about the context in which that happens.
Yeah. Yes. And Natalie's like, okay, moving on. Like, I don't want to think about that too deeply because, oh, holy shit, I don't want to think about that too deeply. And so then we get like, oh my God, it's a sex scandal. This is our first, I think we didn't quite know it was a sex scandal before, but we're getting more into it now. That this might be some kind of sex scandal. And we get another little bit of flashback because Schanke and Natalie are fighting again about Hyatt and Norton. And Nick has a really good line. He says, you have to pick whether you want to be zealous or thorough.
I liked that line.
Yeah. I really liked that line.
He knows from experience.
Yeah. He's basically like, I've been through this before where I had no choice. I was guilty before we even started. And I need you guys to get your game faces on.
You can't serve two masters.
Yeah, he's like, you both, neither one of you have any kind of evidence that proves that your candidate is innocent. At this point, literally everyone could be a suspect. So I need you to get the fuck over it.
let's rephrase this in terms of another quote. Let's see if anybody can tell us where this quote comes from. You can half-ass two things, or you can whole-ass one thing.
Parks and Rec. I know that one. So Schanke goes back to election headquarters.
Honey.
I'm sorry, what?
That was something you totally could have put on the Instagram.
Half-ass two things or whole-ass one thing?
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to be part of the Instagram? Do you want to post something? I don't know. I don't know if anybody.
Nope.
Figured out.
I'm not doing it. That is not my realm of expertise. That is not my strength.
I love that you have an Instagram. You occasionally log in and just like huge swaths of our Instagram page. But you have no posts and no followers.
I had one. Hold on. Let me correct this. Okay.
For the record.
Let's talk about ratios.
Let the record
of
show.
Posts to followers.
Okay, I'm ready.
And I will.
Let the record show.
Wow you.
Okay.
With my ratio.
I'm ready to be
of
wowed.
Posts to followers.
Oh my god, I'm so ready.
Okay. I have 34 followers, honey.
Why?
I don't know.
What? Why?
I don't know.
You don't have any posts.
Okay, so
and it's not even like you had posts and then deleted them. You have never
like,
had posts.
It's like, well, okay, hold on.
Okay,
there's more here. Okay, hold on. It's like a third, like friends and family, and then 2/3 just like random people. Like, who is this? Why are they following me? I don't know.
Who are you? Why are you following me?
Popo way in me.
No, you know what? Don't read them out loud.
Jane.
I know. Nope. Okay. So Schanke gets to the election headquarters, and he gets there super early. And this other lady arrives, and she's like, "Oh,
he's poking through the desk."
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, you're here early," and he's like, "Oh, I'm just ready to go." And she goes, "Oh, I'm here to start the coffee."
He says, "You're here really early too." Like, shoot, I lost my chance to dig through the desk.
Right, and she's like, "Well, I got to get the coffee started." And he goes, "Yeah, elections aren't won in bed, huh?" And she goes, "Nope, but they can be lost in them."
Mr. Schanke.
Oh, hi. Hello.
Hi, you're here early?
Oh, yes, and, so are you.
Well, gotta get the coffee on. Geez, I thought you'd be home sleeping in, hard as you've been working.
Well, elections aren't won in bed.
No, but they can be lost in bed.
Foreshadowing.
And then we cut to Nick, who is viewing newspapers on his computer, which he's using.
He's going through digital microfiche or something.
Yeah, some kind of digital scans, which, considering he's using 5 1/4-inch floppy disks for this, I think he could hold about, 3 newspaper pages on one of those.
Right.
And he's viewing them at full size, high resolution on his rear projection widescreen TV.
Which those projection screen TVs were like the higher end of high definition of the era.
Yeah. Of the era being the key
if you had a camera, if you had a source signal from a camera that was exactly matched to the TV.
Yeah.
You could probably get that high resolution. But a computer video signal connection from a 5 1/4-inch floppy disk.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. That's
And we get our longest flashback yet, which is Nick, and he actually gets a chance to say he was the night curator and a professor of archaeology.
Which this would have been his tenure in this professor position seems like it overlaps with the Dark Knight episode and the movie like time period.
No, it's 1954. These flashbacks are to 1954.
Yeah, which would have been 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? So in the the pilot episode.
Yeah.
Right? And in the movie,
yeah,
they mention, oh, that was 40 years ago.
What was?
The dig at the
Altoon Canal?
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah, they said it was 40 years ago.
Oh. And today I learned. Wow,
and
no.
So that's why.
Are you? Okay.
That's why she said it was more obvious in the movie.
Yeah.
The Rick Springfield movie.
Nick Knight.
She was like, "Oh, well, that was before our time."
Oh, and he's
because it was around 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Was the dig at Altoon Canal.
See, I was just so distracted by Rick Springfield that I couldn't focus on anything that was going on.
I don't think they made the 40 years ago comment in the Dark Knight pilot.
No, maybe one of the things we cut out.
Yeah.
For the sake of time.
But they made the 40 years ago comment along with the before our time.
So Nick arrives. I mean, fair point. So thank you. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. I want to just give credit where it's due. I did not
Golf
catch that.
clap.
Golf clap. So we're back at the headquarters for Hyatt's campaign. And Schanke's there, and Nick shows up. And Schanke's like, look, man, I can help a little. I found a couple of things, but like they're not admissible because I'm here under different pretenses.
False pretenses.
And Nick's like, yeah, I get it. Whatever. And so we're kind of cutting them talking.
When Nick first got there, he was looking real judgy about Schanke. And Schanke was like, I'm sorry, like
okay,
I can't do anything because I'm here under false pretenses because I showed up with different intentions. And Nick's like, oh, okay, yeah. Like
which
false
just goes
pretenses,
into my
okay,
theory
yeah.
that say what you want about Schanke. He is a good by the book cop.
Right.
Which makes him a good foil to Nick Knight's character.
Right. As the man of more capacities, he has the power to take advantage of his capacities to do things outside of the law. Like, okay, so
beyond the law, one might say.
Let's go on a tangent.
What? I'm here for you. Let's go.
Here's a position.
I'm in the car with you. I'm riding along.
Nick
yeah.
has a lot of power to exert on the world.
Yes.
That is purely enforced by his own personal morality. And here we see Schanke's very by the books.
Yes.
Which is a
foil.
Reflection, a foil of Nick's freedom to enact.
Ability to do whatever the fuck he wants.
There you go.
Yeah.
Upon the world.
And at will. With
and the only thing directing Nick's use of his vampire abilities is right now his position as a police officer, a detective.
Yeah.
Specifically, that most of the things that he does day to day are under the scrutiny of Donut Don, who, when he shows up for the campaign, like phone calling thing,
he's like, are those donuts for us?
Are those donuts for us?
But that's why having him as a very by the book, very good, very
right, and so
honorable in most.
So we've referenced before that Nick didn't go through the normal hiring process.
Probably.
Right? He vampire hypnotized, charmed his way into his role as a detective in the Toronto Police Department, which means almost every aspect of his employment situation he selected for deliberately, or at least he had the ability to select for deliberately.
Yes.
Okay, so one factor was he chose to work in a precinct that heavily worked with Natalie.
Yes.
Right?
Don't get excited, Natalie. It doesn't mean anything. But yes.
It's okay to get excited, Natalie. This far into season 1, there's a chance.
There's a chance. You're right. I'm looking at this with eyes clouded by knowledge.
Yes. That also...
Terrible, terrible knowledge.
That also means he had his choice of partners.
Yeah. No, remember he wanted to work alone. Specifically. The only reason he's working with Schanke at all is because they forced him to have a partner.
Well, okay.
Remember?
Hold on.
Somebody shoot me.
Let's
please?
Let's go back. He has the ability to vampirically manipulate everybody in the chain of command.
Yes.
Right? And that's how he got to where he is.
To anyone he has physical access to. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So if he did not want to work with Schanke, he could have vampire hypnosised his way out.
With some effort.
Yeah. Drinking some extra cow's blood, whatever. He could have...
More like getting to everybody on the chain of command who is responsible for that decision.
Right.
But yeah.
Which means, effectively, he chose to have Schanke as his partner. And so Schanke may have just been the first acceptable choice of partner in a line of Stone Tree trying to force push a partner on Nick.
So what you're getting at is that Nick likes having someone he associates with who is an example of the type of human that is constrained by the rules that he is not.
Someone that is an exemplar of the kinds of values and principles that he is striving towards.
Yes.
All right. We got there. Okay. That's where I've been trying to get to for the last, 15 minutes.
It wasn't so bad. I peed in the middle of it. Not right here. I left. And you...
The couch, honey!
We
paid $60 for that couch.
You were still talking. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to tell you to stop.
I had a lot to say. It's better to burn out than to fade away.
So, whoop whoop, back to Forever Night. Like the episode, we were talking about Forever Night. So it was relevant.
We were on topic.
It was relevant discussion.
We weren't on a tangent. We were on a deep dive.
We pointed at each other. It was a moment. Okay. We're in some kind of press conference here where Hyatt is coming to address his supporters and cold callers and all the people in the hotel. His sanctioned zone of the hotel. His wing. I like sanctioned zone better. And the reporters are there and they're talking to him and they're getting a lot of questioning and Nick and Schanke talking and then questioning and then Nick and Schanke talking. And then one of the reporters holds up a newspaper and it says murders.
Campaign cadavers.
Murder most foul. So it's out that shenanigans have happened and that there were 2 murders and both candidates are currently suffering from the campaign effects of being so closely associated with these murders. Closely associated in that they were physically in proximity to these murders.
They were all in the same hotel.
And Natalie is watching this on TV. and getting increasingly irritated. And finally she's like, oh, I can't take it. So she just
Right,
gets in her
because they're
car.
badgering her candidate.
Yeah, she gets in the car and heads to the hotel to, I don't know, set the record straight. And so Nick calls the coroner's office, and we get our NPC that I would not mind if we had kept around more often. We actually see her 3 or 4 times, so she's not really
She's
an
a
NPC.
recurring character.
This is Grace.
Yes.
And I really wish we had made Grace a larger reoccurring character, because Grace is to Schanke as Nick is to Natalie. So
Yes.
Nick and Natalie are both sort of the dry.
Right. Grace is like, don't listen to me. I'm politically ignorant.
Yeah, Grace is our foil for Natalie, and I wish we'd had her around more often, because I really think that Natalie's character would have been deepened by having this relationship with somebody other than Nick. Because we really only ever experience Natalie in her context with Nick. Very rarely do we see Natalie outside of her interaction with Nick. And so it's always nice when we get her as Natalie and not as Natalie as she relates to Nick. And Grace gives us that. And we don't see her enough. And when you guys remake this show, I want to see a foil for Natalie, who is a recurring character. Just going on the record right here. And he is calling to find out what the results of the DNA test are, because Natalie had told him that she'd already sent that bloody fingernail off to get a DNA profile done. And Grace is like, "Oh no, that sample's still in the safe."
It's in Natalie's locker, and she doesn't have a way to get it.
I didn't get the keys before she left.
Yeah.
And Nick's like, "Left? Where did she go?"
What the fuck?
He's like, "Oh my God, they did not listen to me. It is like herding cats." Hey, you know what? Last week we thought Nick was getting a view of what it would be like to be a father. No. It's this week.
This is the more realistic scenario.
Because Schanke...
Oh, I would say, okay, this episode is more the scenario of what it's like to be a parent of a teenager.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Because they have some autonomy.
And we finally start getting more of a view of Norton's campaign manager, who is Laura.
Yeah,
she actually
the
played
female candidate.
She played in Earth Final Conflict. Did you ever watch Earth Final Conflict?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with the cool like pull-out phone things.
Oh, yeah. That was the inspiration for Samsung's flexible display.
God, I loved Earth Final Conflict.
The tech lead at Samsung.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw an interview where they were like, oh yeah, like Earth Final Conflict was one of the inspirations for the Samsung Galaxy flexible displays.
Yeah.
They've been literally working on flexible displays since Earth Final Conflict.
Maybe we'll add that to the list. That's a great forgotten sci-fi television show.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a good show.
It was kind of a politics heavy show, or diplomacy heavy show, almost as like a more heavy-handed example of what Star Trek did.
Yeah, because it's actually placed
as a
on
political commentary, because it's in present day.
Yeah.
In the 90s.
But Natalie shows up and she talks to the press in a way that heavily implies that Hyatt is the bad guy. Even though she's not, she says no comment.
It's all about tonality.
It's all about tonality. And Nick is
pissed.
He is so pissed. She leaves and gets in her car like, oh shit, what did I just do? And he gets in the car with her and he's like, oh no, you thought. You fucking thought.
Oh no, you don't get off that easy.
So am I supposed to drive you your car or what?
Drive. Just drive.
Just drive.
Just fucking drive, Natalie. We got to talk. And so she's driving and she's kind of like, flipping out a little bit. I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. And he's like, listen, you're being an idiot about this and I need you to chill the fuck out. And in the meantime, she's like, what is this guy behind us doing? because there's a car acting erratically behind them. And of course, this car runs them off the road, and we get a Michael Bay car flip where she runs up on a couple of cars.
Yeah, Natalie's car gets pushed into the parking lane.
Yeah.
And inconveniently, there was a ramp in front of the first car in this line of cars.
Yeah.
That causes them to ride up and flip over.
And burst into flames all at the same time.
But not until after Nick kicks the entire door off.
Yeah. Gets them
and
out.
Pulls Natalie out.
It bursts into flames as they're going up the ramp. It's pretty quick.
No.
Yeah.
It doesn't. We're going to have to rewatch this scene.
I'm not rewatching
There
it
were
right
no
now.
flames while they were in the air.
Of course, we had to pause the episode and go watch to make sure one of us was right and one of us was wrong.
You can turn off the TV now.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Okay, so they hit the line of cars.
Yep.
The first car in the line explodes. Of course.
Of course.
Because that's what happens.
Uh-huh.
And the flame ejected from that first car ignites the back end of Natalie's car on fire.
Right. Well, shit's on fire.
When they land upside down,
shit's on fire.
The back quarter of the car is on fire. And that's when Nick kicks the door out.
Shit is on fire. So Nick kicks the door out, pulls Natalie out. And somehow this just makes her more political. I don't know. They're yelling at Stone Tree in the office after this about this is obviously Hyatt. Hyatt's trying to silence me.
I thought it was interesting. They didn't go to the hospital first.
No, because Nick saved her with his... I don't even know. But Stone Tree just looks tired. He's like, look, I don't care. This is me at the end of the day when the kids have just been talking to me all day and I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. You know what? I hear what you're saying. What you're saying doesn't make any sense. Why would Hyatt try to kill you after you had literally just insinuated that he was responsible for the murders on television? And you hold a lot of weight because everyone knows you're the coroner, which is sometimes an elected position.
The head coroner. But she is the head coroner, right?
Yeah, she is.
She's the lead coroner.
She's the lead coroner. I don't know how it works in Canada. But we also cut to the campaign manager here, Laura. And she is tippy-tapping away on the computer. And she has kind of an ominous conversation with Norton, where Norton's like, well, we'll just have to let the voters decide. And she's like, oh no, this isn't up to the voters. I'm going to get you to City Hall. I promised. And then we find out that Natalie has finally come through and started doing her job because she sent the DNA away. And for sure, the person that threw the TV into Gilbert's bathroom, you guys remember that case? That one? That one that's kind of a subplot to what is really happening in this episode? It was a woman that dropped that TV in there. And we get a flashback, another flashback. And it is about how Nick had blood in his fridge. Obviously, he's a communist. Only communists keep animal blood
in their fridge.
I love the people in the audience that are like, you animal! You're filth! You filth! And Nick says, you know what? I'm not going to answer that question. I plead the fifth. I don't have to tell you about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he says, I've been convicted. Why not sentence? Because they ask him, how does it feel to know you've lost your job?
He's being badgered by journalists as he's walking down the hallway. And he's like, I've been tried and convicted already. Why shouldn't I already be sentenced too?
Right. Well, it's fair. And we're back at the precinct, and we're back at the desk. You know the desk. It's the desk. The one right inside the door that we use anytime we need to do any kind of filming with a bunch of people. And Nick is like, okay, so one of the numbers in Gilbert's address book, one of the old numbers in Gilbert's address book, used to be the number for an apartment that Norton had. Because Gilbert was at one time an alderman. And Norton and
Which alderman is a political position in Canada.
And Norton and he were associated. associated during the time that he was an alderman. And we realized that the article that they found in the hotel room that they thought was the big scoop, which was about a scandal that had already broken, the Rothweiler incident, which was about a thing that had already happened. That wasn't actually his, because he had a habit of typing certain words a certain way. And in the planted article, none of those typos showed up. And so Nick gets up and gets his coat. And Schanke says, "Where are you going?" And Nick says, "I gotta dig a little deeper."
He could just dig a little deeper.
He could just say, "I'm gonna go get my shovel, Schanke, because it's time to dig a little deeper." And it would have worked just fine.
That would have been beautiful. That would have been a beautiful pun. In this situation.
You're like, you know what this show doesn't have? This show has too few puns. And you heard it from me first. And then we get some Euro minutes. It's our first Euro minutes, really.
Okay, so I looked it up, and it looks like the only elected coroner position for the Toronto region is the Chief Coroner of Ontario.
Oh, okay.
So it's the
head honcho.
I think they are territories. What the equivalent?
Just looking at
the equivalent of states in Canada.
Yeah.
So it looks like the lead coroner for the city would be an appointed position.
Okay.
Not elected.
So after Nick goes to get his shovel, because it's time to dig, we get our first instance of Euro minutes in this episode, which is he's sitting at his piano doing the thing where he plays with the candle flame with his fingertips, which we've seen this one before. So this is some reused footage. It's a little reused filler. And then he changes his shirt because he changed. That's what I love about these inserted scenes.
the incongruous wardrobe change.
Yeah. Because he's wearing anyway, it doesn't.
Okay, did we discuss the Euro minutes in the last episode?
Yes, yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he skips to watching recorded television, and he starts to see Laura in the background of all of these.
A lot.
And she has a very familiar medallion.
Pinned to her lapel.
Yeah, that someone actually pins to her lapel.
In the video. And in real life. The exact same pin that Nick very carefully extracted from the initial victim's suitcase. He's probably
still got it in his pocket right now. He could pull it out to reference it at any time.
Yeah, it depends on whether he turned it into evidence at any point.
I bet he didn't. But in real life, we're having a press conference. And Schanke has, as he called it, switched sides. So he's now on the other side, and he's investigating.
Wearing a hat with a telephone logo on
he's just got a telephone, a badge on his hat that's shaped like a standard telephone.
He's wearing a full jumpsuit.
Yeah, with the full coveralls, with the same badge on his name badge area, where it's just a picture of a telephone, like a rotary telephone, a very obvious telephone icon. Like I'm the telephone repair guy. An obvious telephone
icon in the 90s.
In the 90s. And so he's posing as the telephone guy. So he's just walking around to desks, like picking up telephones and putting it up to his ear and then putting it back down.
And pretending to push numbers.
I telephone.
Well,
I telephone, guys.
But then he gets over to Laura Neal's desk.
Yeah, and he's looking through
her desk calendar.
And she has a day marked Make Luck.
Make luck.
That doesn't sound ominous. No. But during this press conference, Norton is reacting to the fact that Hyatt's campaign has been harmed by harming her own campaign to put them both back on equal footing. And she says, look, you guys are all blaming him for this stuff that happened with Gilbert because Gilbert broke this story about this scandal.
Right. And if his association with the murders is hurting his campaign, then I'm going to level the playing field.
Yeah.
by making an association of my own campaign with
Gilbert.
Another associated scandal.
Because newsflash, guys, I used to bang Gilbert. He and I
the guy who died.
Yeah, I was hitting that. Not right now hitting that. In the past.
Some years ago. Quote unquote. Some years ago.
Yeah, we had a relationship. Which is why he had her phone number in his book.
Right.
So we kind of knew that, but this is her revealing it. And I think my favorite plot element in this entire episode is the narrator guy. The guy that we keep cutting to, and he's got the microphone.
Oh, okay. The live action
news reporter who is telling us, the viewer, what's happening, like summarizing what's happening in the political campaign for us, the viewer. About every, 10 to 15 minutes, he just keeps popping up. And it's this blonde guy with a microphone, and he's like, this just in. And it's framed like it would be for a news report of the time. Yeah. But it's in the middle of the episode. I think that's just a fun way to keep us in that this is a press-centric episode and to keep us up to date with the plot and to keep us moving through the plot.
Right, and with the expected audience interpretation.
Right. And she leaves, she goes back to the back room to get some air, and Laura is there. And Laura's like,
What the fuck was that?
What the fuck, Norton? Why didn't you do it like I coached you? You betrayed me. She's like, what do you mean I betrayed you? I did what I needed to do. I leveled the playing field. I'm being a good politician.
And this is where I thought...
Well, she's being a good person. She's not being a good politician.
Yes, she's being a good person.
Right. And she looks down, and Laura is holding a gun.
Womp womp.
Womp womp. And
So this is where I first started thinking an extremely valuable skill in high level politics is being able to recognize psychopaths.
Yeah.
And Norton ain't got it.
Because this woman has been beside her all of this time.
Years.
And she hasn't realized it. Because it immediately starts to escalate. And she takes Norton out to a car because she promised her she was going to get her to City Hall.
And hold on. Just audience, like education, never go to the second location.
Never go to the second location.
Which in this case is... I promised I would take you to City Hall.
Yep.
What do you mean we can't win, Barbara? Here we are. We made it just like I promised you.
You killed Gilbert, didn't you?
I'm going to fulfill that promise.
Meanwhile, Nick has been watching some more recorded footage, and he calls it. He calls Schanke, and he's like, keep an eye out for Laura.
So he sees some years old video of Laura Neal with Norton, and Laura gets the medallion.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, how did Reeves get the medallion?
That's what I mentioned at the very beginning, is we don't cover that. Also, why is it on a necklace string instead of on a pin?
Right.
Yep. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. We're never going to find out. So Nick calls it. He sees that Laura has gotten this medallion. He's getting suspicious of how close Laura is to Norton. He calls Schanke to let him in on his suspicions, and Skanke's like, oh, well, they just stepped out back for some air for a second. And Nick's like, holy shit, get back there right now. Because, of course, as he's doing this, unfolding in the back is Laura kidnapping Norton. And so Schanke chases them out.
We're going to City Hall. I promised I'd take you to City Hall.
We're going to City Hall. And so Schanke chases them out while Nick is flying there. And Schanke is crouched behind this barrel because Laura is shooting at him. And Nick lands behind a car and gets Skanke's attention. He goes, Schanke. And Schanke looks over.
Hold on. Oh. No, Schanke requisitions someone's car.
Not yet. So Schanke is crouched behind the barrel. and Nick lands behind a car, and he pulls out his own weapon, and he looks over and goes, Schanke, to get Skanky's attention. So Schanke looks over like, oh, good, Nick's here. They share a moment where they look at each other, and that is when Laura jumps in the car and drives off. And so Nick takes off, okay. Like flight takes off again.
Yeah.
And Schanke dips to go get a car. He does not in any way wait for Nick or attempt to get Nick to come with him at all. He operates as if Nick has his own way of chasing them, which furthers my suspicion and fan theory that Schanke knows exactly what Nick is.
Or, if not exactly, he knows close enough.
Yeah, he has his suspicions, and in a moment like this, he is more than willing to just let Nick do what Nick needs to do. He also doesn't question how Nick got to the scene and got the arrest when he had just seen him at the hotel, and Nick had made no effort to get any kind of a car.
Right. Schanke had the eye contact with Nick, immediately got a car, and sped to City Hall.
Yes.
To the extent that he crashed into some police cars and provided an extremely valuable distraction.
We're going to get there.
And when he got there, after speeding there recklessly,
he doesn't.
Nick was already there.
Nick was already there. Yes. Yes. So Schanke commandeers a vehicle for the second time in like 4 episodes. And they take off after Laura because she's taking Norton to City Hall, literally. And so they're driving full speed up towards City Hall. Crash is imminent, and for once, the curb does its work. They hop up over the curb.
Kills the car.
And the curb kills the car. And they get out, and Laura's like, here you are. Just like I promised.
I promised I would get you to City Hall.
And then immediately she starts confessing everything because, of course, Nick has arrived and he's crouched behind a pillar. Like,
he's not even crouched. He's just standing there, full silhouette.
He's like, oh, yeah, tell her how you killed everybody. Yeah. Because Laura's like, okay, so first I drowned this guy by dumping this TV in his room, and then he had a girlfriend, and I thought she was a liability, so I killed her too.
I couldn't take the chance that she knew anything about the sex scandal.
She's like, I just really wanted you to win. We worked so hard on it together. It's like they had a group project. And this girl got so fucking tired of being the only person in the group project who was doing any real work, she just started killing all the other groups.
I have never been that person.
I was always that person. You were that guy that everyone was like, not Matt, not
I remember
Matt,
in high school chemistry class, my friend Kevin was that guy.
You were the other that guy. Oh my God, I hope Matt's not in my group.
I would provide critical insight.
I'm sure you did. Pithy repartee.
No, like...
No, not pithy?
I've always been pithy, honey.
You think so. You think.
You know that I think I have always been pithy.
I know that. That's what I just said. But Nick is talking to Laura. He's distracting her. He's drawing her fire, really. He learned a good lesson from Dying to Know You.
He puts his gun away.
He puts his gun away.
While he's approaching her.
And he makes like a threatening approach, so she'll turn her gun on him.
A distracting approach.
Right.
He has his arms up.
He's drawing her fire, is what he's doing. And then Schanke provides a very convenient distraction where he crashes into a police car with his commandeered vehicle.
Yes.
And Nick takes this opportunity to whoosh down the stairs and catch Laura, which I am going to argue this is number 13 on our list of people that Nick has revealed himself to. Not Laura necessarily, but Norton. Because Norton looked over, she saw that Nick was at the top of the stair, And then all of a sudden, Nick was right next to them. And I'm going to argue
I think, okay.
Yeah.
I'll go with you that he definitely presented a situation which could be interpreted as, whoa, how the fuck did he get there?
Yeah.
Except in that particular context, Norton was not really in the right state of mind to be an objective reference point.
Should the only people that go on the list be the people that Nick vamps out in front of? Because we didn't get a vamp out at all in this episode.
Because in that situation, from Norton's perspective, there's a police officer who's
really fucking fast.
Okay. He's walking towards them, talking very calmly. He puts his gun away. He's sending every nonverbal signal of, I am not aggressive, but I'm capturing a lot of your attention.
Yeah.
And then, perfectly timed, almost like they've rehearsed this.
Almost.
Schanke crashes a taxi into two police cars.
Yeah.
It's really hard to keep track of time spans.
Yeah.
In tense situations.
Okay, so no, this isn't number 13. That's what you're saying. Well, that all happens. We arrest Laura, and then we're back at Nick's home.
Okay. Before we move on.
Okay.
Laura is, at this point, just ranting at Norton. Yeah. We're getting heavy, I'm going to shoot myself vibes.
Yeah, Matt was like, oh no.
I was like, oh, we have not had suicide in like 3 episodes. Here it is.
Oh, it's coming. I was with you, too, because I think I've watched this episode
They were dropping heavy suicide vibes on Laura Neal. And it's like, as she was getting ready to lift the gun to shoot herself, Nick grabs her arm.
Yeah.
And like squeezes her wrist so she drops the gun.
Right. And that is the end of that. That is the end of the plot solved, mystery solved, case closed. We got to have our wrap up. So we go back to Nick's home, and Natalie is looking through this bag of Nick's shit. This is where she's the audience stand-in, where she asks clarifying questions that we would want to know. But in this case, she's going through a suitcase and she's looking at an artifact, and he gives her like a brief explanation. It's from the Upper Paleolithic period. It's priceless. That's why I've got it in the suitcase.
That redefined for the entire field when the Paleolithic began.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
And then she pulls out a desk plate.
A nameplate.
For Nicholas Gerard. For Nicholas Gerard. And it's from the job that he was at when he was accused of being a communist. And he gets this kind of bittersweet line about how it's really hard to leave behind a life.
Right. And she makes a comment about, like, this is a really important artifact.
Yeah. And he said, it's always hard to leave behind a life. It's especially hard when you're forced out of it.
Is that one too?
What?
A very, very important piece.
Indeed. You are looking at a desk nameplate taken from the Chicago area circa 1954. It represents the end of a significant period in the ongoing transient life of a certain indigenous vampire.
You hated leaving that one behind, didn't you? I know how you feel about archaeology.
I had some remarkable students. And I think I was actually making a difference.
I don't doubt it for a moment.
It's never pleasant moving on. Particularly when you have no choice.
Right. And he says, I had some very promising students.
Which is the only resolution we get for that flashback. We only see the start of his trial. We don't see the conclusion. We don't catch any of that. So the only
we
thing
don't get the fallout of what happened in Nick's life
is that
after this.
he had to leave that life. And that's it. Period. And we find out that Norton has lost the election. No big surprise for anybody. And Schanke is tastelessly on the TV celebrating.
Oh my God, Schanke.
Just like jumping across the screen, happy because his candidate won by default, basically.
Right.
And so that's it. That's the end of the episode. All wrapped up. Nice little political package. A little bit of commentary on journalism. Little bit of commentary on politics, little bit of commentary on what zealousness over politics causes people to do. And that's it. It's done. That's the episode.
Yep.
That was the second lowest rated episode of season 1. Next week is the third lowest rated episode of season 1. Dying for fame. So that should be exciting. That one has some wild times. So I hope you are ready.
Wild times?
Wild times.
W-I-L-D or W-Y-L-D?
W-Y-L-D, obviously.
All right.
Oh my God. I don't know. I think we don't have a lot of wrap up. We talked about pretty much everything throughout this episode. I think you talked plenty. You're good.
So you're telling me to shut up?
You're good, son. You're good. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it's a good place to keep up with what we're up to. I know I say it every single time, but just want to put it out there. I do keep it updated, almost religiously, if I have a religion at all, I guess. That. I try to keep it updated with interesting things, and when we have new episodes out or when we have interesting stuff going on, any kind of news, whatever, I tend to put on there. That's the Instagram page at Strange and Beautiful Book Club. I'm also going to start posting more on the Patreon page. I haven't been as up to date with it as I have been with the Instagram, but now that the Pod Lab is finished, I have a little bit more free time, so I can start putting some stuff on the Patreon page. We also have a website that has all of our links, including the submission form if you want to submit something. Always happy to hear. We have gotten 3 submissions in the history of Strange and Beautiful Book Club.
And that's at strangeandbeautiful.club.
Yes, correct. Thank you. It's in the show notes.
Links in the show notes.
I always put it in there, along with the Instagram and the Patreon link. Or if you're on Instagram, you can just use our link tree to find it. It's on our link tree as well. So I try to make sure it's everywhere, easily accessible and available for anybody to check out and try. We're happy to get any kind of feedback, anything like that. We're just happy to hear. I'd love to build a community. I think that's what I'm really in for. I was journaling today, and I was trying to decide what is the definition of success for me with the podcast. And what I concluded was just having an interactive community. Just a back and forth with people other than you. Not that I don't love you, honey, but I talk to you all the time. And what I wanted when I was younger and I was watching this show by myself was a community that I could discuss it with. And I think that's kind of what I'm looking for now. And if you noticed, I updated our description information. We're already doing it, so I figured we might as well just lean into it, which is highlighting and exploring forgotten sci-fi, fantasy, and horror movies. I feel like horror gets a lot. I'm happy to explore horror movies that I feel get overlooked. But there's really a lot of great sci-fi and fantasy out there as well that I feel like we can highlight and discuss and bring back into the spotlight, fairly or unfairly. We'll just have to decide. Which I think will be part of the fun, because some of it we won't have seen either. If you're not on Instagram, join us on Patreon. There's a $1 tier. What's $1? Come on. You can hop on it. I'm going to keep it updated like I keep the Instagram updated. It's a great place to, if you spring for the $3 tier, you can talk to us on Discord, like in real life.
IRL, but, on Discord. So that pretty much wraps it up.
Instagram, Patreon, website. Like, subscribe, rate, give us 5 stars wherever you can. Pushes us up the algorithm, gets us closer to that community that I would really love to build. And that's pretty much it. So, did you have anything you wanted to share?
No.
Okay. You do your thing.
Remember, sometimes the strangest things are the most beautiful too.
So be who you are and love what you love. Until next time, friends.
Bye.